going. You do anything
All
interesting today?
pretty low key day today. Did some chores. Um, did some stuff I need for the apartment, but mostly just a low key day.
That's good.
Nothing too extreme on my end.
I did wait like 35 minutes for a pot of water to boil.
Did you have the heat on?
So there's an issue with this stove. For my new stove that they just installed not too long ago, and for some reason, when it gets like you can turn the dial above high, and it's not off. It says on, but it's not actually on. So I must have just been just above, and it's not. It doesn't click at all. That's the issue too. There's no like it clicks when you get to off, but like if you turn it just above where it says high on the thing, it won't run on high. It'll run a little bit. It'll turn on and make you think it's running, but then it'll like stop.
Oh, that's a bit.
So I waited like 20 minutes. I came back and I'm like, what the hell's going on? And it was still just warm. So I like, okay, I'll just try and my best to get it right on high, and then the burner kicked on and stayed on. So I don't know what the deal is.
I guess in this case, not watching the pot caused it not to boil.
You got there in the end.
Oh well, do the other ones work, or is it like that on all of them?
I think it's like that on all of them. But I usually only use this one burner because that's the big burner, right? So if I'm boiling a big pot of water, it might. Well, I don't know. Maybe it is because I just made mac and cheese the other day on the other burner in a smaller pot.
Maybe just a one burner issue. Maybe you can get the maintenance guy to come in and mess with it and fix it up.
It's just not that big of a deal. I just discovered it really today too. I had my suspicions, but today was the confirmation. So now I know. Just make sure it's at high, not above high. Because I was like, oh, if I turn it higher than high, it should stay on.
It'll make it boil even faster.
Maybe they just didn't put the markings all the way to the end, you know?
But yeah, it goes from high to off. Kind of like how showers go from cold to off, you know?
Yeah.
Same general principle.
Yeah. Man, I've got fungus gnats again, and I don't know how because I don't have any potted plants.
Fungus gnats?
Yeah, they infest.
I've never heard of those.
Infest potted plants, but I don't have any potted plants, so I'm not really sure.
Maybe they got in from when you were planting stuff, and
no, I don't see any. That would mean they're coming in through my sliding glass door, though, and I don't see any in that room. I see a lot of them in the garage, so I wonder if they're coming in there.
It might just be some little hole in your garage insulation or something.
Well, I can tell you, you can see through the door.
Well, then, that's probably a big enough hole then.
But I don't understand why they're going into the garage, you know?
They're sending out little scout parties. Looking for fun guys.
They're individuals. They're not grouped, you know?
Hey, well, they're going for something, apparently. Something you're unaware of. The nose knows.
Oh, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I've got... maybe I do. Maybe I'll have to check something after this.
Your fungus plants are growing in their garage?
Yeah.
Your little mushroom farm?
Yeah. No, not that. Well, you want to get into it?
I say that we do.
All right, here we go. Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to the Audio Shop podcast. This week we are discussing a new world record by Electric Light Orchestra. And you may be saying, Sam, how the hell did you get Cooper to agree to talk about ELO not during Thanksgiving? And the answer is listening to a god-awful Journey album.
It made me nostalgic.
Yeah, he wanted some good music. And I rubbed my little hands together and I said, I have some albums.
like a... Plus, it's been a while. I was in the mood.
Yeah. And he was like, "Oh, we could do one of their first albums." And I said, "Cooper, you said you wanted good music," which I really like.
Albums are interesting.
Yeah, but they're much more experimental. Which I've got the history here, and I've got a little more on why that is. Actually, I made some discoveries.
Oh, no, we're not reviewing that one, Sam.
We already did that one.
But
on an
give us the history. Give us the down low.
On an unrelated note, sometimes I sit and think what it would be like to be omnipotent, right? Yeah, and all-knowing. And then I sit down and I read about Electric Light Orchestra, a band I've been obsessed with for a lot of years now. Probably 6, maybe 7. How old am I? I don't know. It's been a while.
I think still 6 or 7.
New things today. So I think there's a lot more information out there than I realize.
Yes.
So at the start of this, I didn't intend to write too much about the history since we've talked about them before, but of course I wrote like 3 paragraphs. So here's what you need to know. Here's a little brief background and then some really fucking deep dive before I realized, I said I wasn't going to do this. So this is their 6th studio album, right? Released in 1976 between Face the Music in 75 and Out of the Blue in 77. So they shifted towards a more poppier sound, which would continue as the band went on. This is the original band, minus Roy Wood, who was only on for the first album. So it's Jeff Lynne, Bev Bevan, and Richard Tandy. And then Kelly Grocott, I think that's how you say his name, who was Wood's replacement. And the orchestra people are, well, not the orchestra, but like the feature violin, cello, and percussion are Mick Kaminsky on violin, Hugh McDowell on cello and percussion, and Melvin Gale on cello. So like these guys were the orchestral segments of the band until their removal, which I don't have a source for this one, but I swear I remember a interview or something where they were saying, not the orchestra people, but it was either Jeff Lynne or one of the other band members saying the full orchestra would just kind of treat the recording session as like a 9-to-5 job. So if there's any overrun in time whatsoever, they would just leave because obviously they weren't interested in making rock pop music. They were an orchestra. So if they weren't touring as an orchestra, they took on these jobs as like, hey, this is some cash on the side. And they didn't take it very seriously. And there was hassle with re-recording, and they didn't care as much. Which again, I don't have a source on that. That's just from my memory, so that could be completely false. So back to a new world record, and then we'll go back to more history again. This was their first top 10 album in the UK. Album number 6 was the first top 10. Which, if you look at the previous before, the only one before this that I could see reaching wide popularity is El Dorado. And even that one's got some weirder stuff in it still too. This is also the first album to feature the ELO logo on the cover, commonly referred to as the ELO spaceship, which ends up after the success of Out of the Blue. They kind of used it as a spaceship a lot because that was the first album that had the spaceship Out of the Blue, logo on it. It sold 5 million units worldwide in its first year, so pretty good. And the singles are Livin' Thing, UK top 10 hit Rockaria, or Rockaria, however you want to say it, Transatlantic top 10 hit Telephone Line, and Do Ya, which is a remake of a 1972 single by The Move, which the New World Record Wikipedia page lists as a band Jeff Lynne was in from 1970 to 1972. However, if you go look at The Move was the original band. ELO was a side project by those members. Roy Wood actually had the original idea for ELO, and previously had brought Jeff Lynne on in 1970, brought Jeff Lynne onto The Move, the band The Move, so he wouldn't have to write all the songs.
Okay.
So the original band The Move was Roy Wood, Bev Bevan, Richard Tandy, and a couple other dudes. But Roy Wood brought Jeff Lynne on to The Move, and then by the end of 1972, The Move was just Wood, Bevan, and Lynne, so then they formed ELO. But it's really odd the fact that Roy Wood had the original idea for ELO, and then was only on for the first album, and also Jeff Lynne was the front man. But Jeff Lynne technically, I guess, wasn't the front man until after Wood left, because the first album does have quite a bit of Wood singing on it. So kind of a little bit of history there. But I just find it odd the fact that it says The Move, a band Jeff Lynne was in, when it was really Jeff Lynne joined ELO at the beginning, and then... You know.
And they were called The Move.
Yeah. Yeah,
they existed before Jeff Lynne joined in
1970. It was Bev Bevan, Richard Tandy, and Roy Wood. Like, come on. Or actually, I don't think Tandy was in. No, I take it back. Tandy wasn't in The Move. It was Bev Bevan and Wood, though. So, a little bit of a... Just kind of, I kept going down the rabbit hole. And then you find the bands that Jeff Lynne was in before The Move. He was in, what was it? The Idols. Oh shit, I just looked this up. I don't remember it. But before that, it was the Night Riders. And then there is a song, not on this album, but they have a song called Night Rider on one of their albums. It's just, it goes deep. Anyway, all the songs on this album were written by Jeff Lynne.
Such a rabbit hole for Jeff Lynne.
Yeah, has a runtime of 36 minutes. So way more history than you need.
Who would have thought?
Most of it unrelated to this album, but I just found it very interesting. And I've looked it up before. I guess it just never stuck, you know. So after that ramble, do you want to talk about the first track on this album, Cooper?
Yes. Let's jump right into it with track number 1, Tightrope.
Which great way to start an album. You know, it's got a. I'm not a fan of fade outs, but fade ins. Ooh. It fades into a heavy gong hit. Lovely way to start an album.
Yes, it is definitely a orchestral start to a Electric Light, but it's also a little electric-y. So I think they're hitting everything their namesake.
Yeah.
It kind of starts with like this kind of brooding combination of synth strings and vocals before it kind of gets into the actual proper, rock section at like the 1:15 mark.
Yeah. And as you were saying before, this one has a very great marriage of orchestra and rock. And there's these harmony lines that pop up in one ear or the other. I don't know if you probably did catch them. It took me a while to catch them because I'll be honest, it's a little hard to sing and type at the same time. I couldn't help myself.
Telephone.
Yeah, exactly. Just like that too. But there's the harmonies occasionally pop up in one ear or the other. I personally would have liked it if it was in both, but since it was shifting between them, that's just personal taste. But the mixing is great. There's just it's so dense. There's so much going on.
Oh yeah, this is a great intro song. I mean, it kind of gives you all the pieces that they're going to be messing with throughout the album, like not just the strings, but also their incorporation. There's like there's an orchestral section, but it melds into the actual rock section, and of course Jeff's sweet, youthful vocals.
Yeah.
To be young again for Jeff. With the softer, that swings everything back to itself. It's very cohesive, despite it having elements that could be different.
Yeah, it'd be very easily for it to be, kind of spread out and not knowing what it is, but it's very tight. It sounds as if violins were always meant to be in a rock band,
And they make a good case here.
Mm-hmm. I would wager this is one of the most underrated ELO albums, because Out of the Blue gets a lot of love. But this was, this was not too poppy, and it was when they really started to come into their stride. It's just very good. It does fade at the end of the song, even though there's a clear end. But, the next song fades in, so I'd say it gets a pass.
Oh, this is a 76 album.
Yeah.
So not uncommon for songs of this era to do the classic fade out.
I will say there's quite a few songs on this album, though, that do just end, which is rare for this year.
That is true. And very strong opening. I mean, I like how the dark strings kind of come back at like the 3-minute mark.
Mm-hmm.
Now melt together a bit with the guitar. I think it demonstrates ELO's strengths. Truly the cover letter of this band.
I agree. Moving on to track number 2, if you're ready.
Yes, track number 2, Telephone Line. Now, Sam, I gotta ask, if you had to put a number to it, how many times do you think you will listen to this song?
Total or just last year?
Total in your entire life.
Oh God.
Just spitball.
Probably over 1,000. Honestly, though, I will say when I was really into this album last year, and it would be the solos. I would do Tightrope and then Telephone Line. You have to do both. You can't just go straight into Telephone Line.
You got to build up to it.
Yeah. But yeah, this is one of the greatest songs ever written. I'm not biased.
No. I mean, I gotta agree that it's a solid track. I mean, it starts with that, with the vocals being distorted like it's going through a telephone,
Mm-hmm.
and then kind of that filter slowly lifting up as the orchestra fills in the background.
What Journey tried to do on that one song and just utterly failed.
Yes, it succeeds handedly here.
And then you get the dial tone because no one's answering. Huh?
It tells a story through sound.
It does. And then we get.
I mean, this certainly isn't a concept album by any means. No. The kind of ELO kind of tackles that in their album Time, but it tells a little story.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to be fair, a lot of the albums before this one were concept based.
Yeah.
El Dorado was basically a movie in sound. So this is them. They're retaining elements of that, but moving in a poppier direction, which shows that it was wanted because it was very their first success in the UK, their home country. So we get some nice stacked vocals around the minute 15 mark, which are great and thankfully heavily featured throughout the chorus. So we get to hear them again and again and again.
Yeah, I mean, the vocals on this song are great. Very singable along song. I mean, there's an honest to goodness a doo-wop section at the 145
there
mark.
There is, yes. I forgot to bring that up.
But I liked it. It's handled tastefully, I think.
And not just a doo-wop, it's a doobie-doobie-op.
Oh, thank you. I think it pairs well with the string samples.
Mm-hmm. No, Cooper, not samples. That's a
so sorry, string accompaniment.
There you go.
I should say.
And we get the dial tone back at 235, and which gives us a chance to kind of build the song back up again. It cuts itself back down and goes back up. And this one, man, there's just so much going on in the instrumental line that I realize the chorus does repeat quite a lot, but it's so singable, and there is like I said, there was a lot going on in the first track. There is so much going on in the instrumental track in this one. It is written like a true orchestral piece.
Yeah, and honestly, I get this song, especially on the verse. I mean, ELO has been compared to the Beatles in multiple varieties, but the vocals, especially on the verse, like strike me as particularly Beatles-esque. Which, to be fair, they're contemporaries. And I don't think Jeff Lynne's unfamiliar with the Beatles.
No.
As some of his later supergroups would prove.
Well, part of the reason he was brought onto the Move was because of his Beatles-esque vocals. That was actually one of the reasons they hired him. So he's been doing it for a long time.
Maybe not so much nowadays. He's dropped a couple octaves.
Sci-Fi Woman is a banger of a track. Granted,
I'm not saying he's not.
It needed Richard Tandy back to get it up there, but just don't listen.
I'm just saying his vocals aren't. His vocals nowadays are not as let's say versatile as they used to be.
True, that's true.
That's just a product of age.
Yeah, and also, I mean, if you look at Zoom, some people really dislike Zoom. When it went even more poppy, I personally like it, but anyway, that's neither here nor there. Do you have anything else for this one, or you want to get on to track number 3?
Let's go to track number 3. Rockaria?
Rockaria?
Rockaria? That makes it sound like a STD.
I believe it's isn't there an operatic piece?
I'm assuming it's like Maria,
or
but
Aria?
But
isn't there
Rock Maria, right? So Rockaria, right?
Maybe. I'll be honest, I don't know where the title comes from. But
either way, it starts with opera ass intro.
Sorry, Cooper, go ahead.
No, I was just saying it's a interesting lead-in of like this very, stereotypical female opera vocals over violin before it just busts straight into some very classic like 50s rock.
Yeah, real old school rock and roll, and that's old school even for the when this album came out.
Yeah, old school for 76.
Yeah, which I'm a real sucker for that juxtaposition of styles there. That's really nice.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it works so well on this song as it does like in later songs that have a little more juxtaposition. I mean, even you could say even like the orchestra and rock are juxtaposing styles.
Yeah.
But I think they work a lot better than these might be too diametrically opposed, right?
I think it fits. I mean, the opera's not there all that much. It's just a little bit.
Yeah, but like when the opera comes in, it's like the rest of the song kind of stops. I think kind of shown by the fact that once the rock starts, it's like a hard cut, basically.
Well, that's because the whole story of the song is this hardcore rock and roller trying to get his opera singer girlfriend into rock and roll.
I get the story, and it's cute. It's an interesting approach. I'm just not sure if these styles are able to meld as much as maybe they were hoping for. A little bit awkward in the transition.
It does it better later in the song. The beginning, I'll give you, is a little bit awkward.
There's a bit of an odd drum and vocal break at like the 2:15 mark.
Yeah, that's a bit harder cut than I remember.
I mean, it only lasts like a couple seconds. It's just an interesting little thing that happened.
I think it would have worked better if that cut of the back of the instrumental track was done better, because it's a real hard snip.
Yeah,
it just kind of drops. And that little breakdown section isn't bad. It's just that cut makes you like, oh, okay, hold on, what's going on?
It's a little startling.
Yeah. But it kind of moves quickly on from that and bringing back the accompanying choir and opera. So, and throughout, before we get to the end of the song, just throughout every once in a while, at 50 seconds and several other times through the song, there's a little duet between the piano and violins and the instrumental line, which I really like. It's not quite a honky-tonk piano, but it's much gruffer than a grand piano. It's just a very nice duet sound.
I wonder if Jeff Lynne will ever play with this sound ever again.
No.
He'll never go back to 50s rock. This was the only time.
He's changed his style. It's he does a lot of pop stuff, and then he always says every song needs at least one rocker, and he does more modern stuff. I think "Time of Our Lives" was supposed to be the rock song from Out of Nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, One More Time. Sorry, that's actually it's cheesy as hell, but I actually enjoy it.
All right, want to go on to the next track then?
Sure. There's a very big build-up at the end of this song, which is kind of hard shifts into track number 4, which is quite slow.
Yeah, track number 4, Mission, parentheses, a world record. So I guess kind of a title track. This is the mandatory sad song about space or whatever on an ELO album.
Yeah. It's very, slow song on the album, very stripped back, bit of synth, some vocals, very slight supporting of the choir, just deep in the background. Orchestra comes in for those big hits before it fully breaks out at the 1 minute mark.
Yeah, this classic, sad kind of downtrodden vocals with the piano before the ultimate build up into kind of this really beautiful, like melodic and melancholic instrument line. Carries energy, sadness, even a little bit of funk with that synth.
Yeah, well, I mean, you say funk, and it breaks into a funk beat occasionally, which it works, but I kind of wish it was more slower. I wish it was kind of took its time throughout, as opposed to having those weird funk breakdowns. It kind of gives us a vehicle to do the backing track breakout, or the instrumental line breakouts, rather.
I kind of like the little funk things. I mean, obviously the verse is a little more on the stripped back side, but the kind of the funk sections themselves kind of I don't know, they had almost like a trippy aspect to this.
Yeah, I mean, this they got their start doing psychedelic rock, so.
So yeah, it's kind of intersperses it with a little bit of a psychedelia that you don't initially get on this song.
I'll be very interested to see your take on Fire on High when we eventually do.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
But in the instrumental line, the main theme gets passed around from instrument to instrument during the chorus, which is just beautiful. Love it.
Yeah, interesting little song. There is that one part at like the 3 minute mark where like the vocals are like in both ears, but like the one of the left ear is like robotic.
Well, yeah,
I'm not sure if you caught that.
It's that split duet where you get normal Jeff in the right and Jeff singing through a running fan in the left.
Yeah, I'm not really sure why that one. I like it's just the vocals in both ears.
It's cool.
It's interesting. It's just a little. It kind of got me out of it there for a sec.
Well, this is supposed to be an alien, right? Observing Earth, so he's kind of the right voice is his fake voice, and the left one's his real.
I mean, I guess, but probably could have been done in a less jarring way.
Nah, I like it. But granted, I've listened. It's like these songs I played. Last Train to London for my sister, and there's a slight section where it almost sounds like police sirens, but it's really just like a whooping noise. She's like, "Oh, I didn't like that. I thought there was a police after me." And I'm like, "You didn't know it was coming?" I'm like, "Oh, of course. Not everyone has listened to this song over 1,000 times." So,
well, that's on them, honestly.
Yeah. Jump into track number 5 if you're ready, Coop.
Yes, track number 5. So Fine.
The start of this song is what I think about when I think of that cowbell sketch from SNL. Even though I don't think it's actually cowbell, but I always like to think it's cowbell. He's really hammering on that thing.
It's a very, very electric start to it.
Yeah.
Got those that kind of pounding percussion backing, literal, ooh la las, and strings at the start. Before kind of busting into the main groove.
Oh, that bass line at 20 seconds.
That is a solid groove.
And it's good throughout. That whole bass line just keeps going throughout the whole song. And this one builds really well as well. You get the orchestra coming in on each successful chorus, more of it rather.
This is the main vocals on this are great as well, and I just like how fun and energetic this chorus is. It's maybe a little more straightforward, but I appreciate just how much energy goes into it. Yeah,
those electric guitar hits really help drive the chorus along. The little slide up the neck and woo woos every once in a while.
There's that weird little I said this before, there is that weird like breakdown at like the 2 minute mark.
Yeah.
With like the bongos. Not really sure what that's about.
You got the synth, you got a bunch of drums and percussion. It sounds cool though, right?
I mean, it's cool. It just doesn't really. There's no like indication it's going to be there, and then like after it leaves, it kind of doesn't do anything. So it's just kind of an odd inclusion.
Just breaking the song up a bit. But
and I suppose
it lets us drop everything out and then slowly build back up again.
That is true. I do like the build up, especially where the strings and the guitar line are kind of parodying each other.
And then the final thing coming in is that bass before everything kicks off and it goes back to the track before. But it still continues that same beat that was established in the breakdown.
It's a weird ass beat. I mean, it kind of works. It's just an odd inclusion.
It's fun though. Jump into track number 6 if you're ready, Coop.
Yes, track number 6, which the previous track kind of melds into, which I appreciate.
Yes.
Living Things.
No.
One of their lead singles, I'm assuming.
Yeah, Living Thing is one of the lead singles because it was the singles are Living Thing, Rockaria or Rockaria or Rock Maria, whatever you want to say, Telephone Line, and Do Ya. So this is the second to last single.
I mean, I would venture to say their most famous song off this album. I know you think Telephone Line's more famous.
I'm pretty sure it's Telephone Line, but
I'm pretty sure Living Thing is.
Now, Cooper, what song is referenced?
Slightly more recognizable.
In From Out of Nowhere, is it Living Thing?
That's the own band referencing themselves.
I'm pretty sure it's Telephone Line that gets referenced.
I don't think I almost called him Jeff Flynn. Jeff Flynn. I'm your evil counterpart, Jeff Flynn. I'm pretty sure Jeff's not the best, barometer to his own success, right?
I mean, I'm pulling up the Spotify right now. Let's see what the top plays are.
Yeah, pull it up. I don't know the numbers, so I'm just speculating.
Oh, also, I hate how Spotify does the popularity because sometimes things will have more plays or less plays but be higher in the list because they're being listened to more right now. You know what I'm saying?
That's true.
All right, I'll give it to you. It has 100,000 or 100 million more listens than
That's a significant amount. See, I knew you were blinded by your own. You're like, well, I listen to it a lot, so everyone's listened to it a lot.
Last Train to London is in the top 5. So fuck you.
I didn't say anything about that song.
Living Thing, yeah. Living Thing's their third most listened on Spotify.
I'm not surprised.
Although here's the case again. Number 5 right now is Evil Woman, but it has 10 million less than Turn to Stone and Telephone Line, but it's higher. I dislike how Spotify does that. I want to see the list. I want to see a number of listens, not what's popular right now.
Raw listens.
Yeah. Anyway, if you're
all
curious,
right, on to track number.
Mr. Blue Sky has almost 700 million, which is
data. Yeah. I mean, that's their most popular song.
Anyway, Living Thing.
Yes, track number 6. Starts with this distinctly like I don't know how to phrase it, like deserty, like kind of a little bit of a carryover from like El Dorado.
Yeah, I was. It's got some nice pizzicato, and I thought it was Spanish style guitar playing, and I don't know how they got a violin to sound like that, but holy crap, that violin solo that repeats every so often is fantastic.
Yeah, like what I was kind of complaining about with Rockaria, I think he's done a lot better on this song. In a very distinct sounds, kind of being melded together. Mm-hmm. I think it's accomplished much better on this one. Also, just a great chorus line on this one.
Yeah. Yeah, this is just all around very fun song.
I mean, it might be the most straightforward pop song.
Yeah, it's very poppy. It's a lot of chorus.
But even there, it's got a lot of character.
Yeah. And to their credit, the orchestra they just go wild on this one. Like the chorus might repeat, but I swear the orchestra is different every single time the chorus repeats. So it's the most pop. It's not like this is the one for them, one for us kind of thing. It's like
No, it's clear. They're still having fun here.
Yeah. Yeah, at least in a 2006 interview, Jeff Lynne believed this is one of his best written albums.
Oh, okay. Jeff's got good taste.
And I will say the fade out on this one, not the best, but you kind of need it when you're going into the next track.
That's true. Plus, it's one of the lead singles, so it having a fade out is not surprising to me.
That's a good point. Sorry. Jump into track number 7 if you're ready, Coop.
Yes, track number 7, Above the Clouds. The shortest song in the album.
Yes.
At just over 2 minutes.
Yes. Which is a good thing, I'd say, because it's very stripped back. Most of the instruments are just playing on the beat and subdivisions of the beat. Although we do get some nice bongos that occasionally just are really far in the background. But it just is a very low-key song.
I'm going to say I wish it was longer.
Really?
I quite like this little snippet and kind of wish it was, when I say it had to be like, 5 minutes, it felt like a, solid 3.5 minute song. I feel like it could have gone a little farther.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Like the fact that they didn't really go super far with it when it was around, maybe they just didn't have any more ideas,
That's fair. That may have been the case, but I really like the foundation it was built on. Kind of echoey vocals with the strings, before more stacked vocals, the piano comes in. It's the lowest key song on the album, but I think for that, it could be kind of extended out, as a little breather before you go into the last couple tracks on the album.
Yeah, although I appreciate that they ended it before it got stale, if they didn't have any more ideas to go.
Also, maybe my favorite, like, just straight up vocals on the album.
Really?
Just like Jeff Lynne's like being like just coming through so crystal clear. There's catchier melodies on the album, yes. Yeah. But like just like in pure like vocal performance.
I think what would be my favorite vocal performance? Probably that telephone line.
Oh, you don't even hear the vocals of yourself.
That's true. That's a good point.
Telephone line. I feel like Jeff Lynne.
Shangri-La is pretty good too for vocals.
We'll
get to that. We'll get to that.
No, super short song.
Yeah.
Kind of wish it. Give it a little more though. Not gonna lie. I wish it was longer.
Yeah, they got the song. Cooper, this album's already over 30 minutes. Jeff was trying to wrap it up.
Come on, guys. We're playing the orchestra by the hour.
Yeah. For all the artists that make hour-long albums, ELO is pretty consistent.
Jeff's not one of them.
We're doing 30 minutes, and if it's more than 30 minutes, it's a double album. Although I guess Time technically is not a double album, and that one's an hour.
Yeah, but that's concept-y.
Yeah.
That one's so far into the story that need the extra time.
That's true. Jump to track number 8 if you're ready, Cooper.
Yes, track number 8. Do Ya Thing. Do Ya.
Sadly, Do Ya Thing isn't released on anything, so I can't listen to it on anything besides YouTube. But yes, this is Do Ya, the single from The Move that was then co-opted by the remaining members of The Move and their new band.
Which now that you gave that backstory, it does make more sense because it's a lot more of a classic rock, and a classic in the sense of like 70s rock setup. And we still got the string backing, but it's a lot more of a I guess traditional structure.
Yeah, it sounds, the style is just a little bit different. It's almost the Don't Bring Me Down to this album.
A little bit.
But, you got that very hard old school rock again at the start there. And we don't get any orchestra until around the 45-second mark. I will say, I like the style shift section, at 145. I kind of like that a bit more than the bass song. But it does give a nice break to the harder sound that is the majority of this song.
Yeah, no, the song is like a little more, I guess, rock and roll than the rest of the album has been. But I think it's a nice breakup, and I think it comes together fine. It just had that nice little light, more orchestral focus on 145. It's also got like a weird little like marching band drum break at like the 245 mark.
With the plane flying over.
Yeah. Which again, it's like the, I guess comedy comes in threes because it's like the third little just odd break that they just could add in there for giggles.
I mean, to be fair, they just came off of Face the Music, which has a lot of that. So the fact that they limited themselves to doing only a couple really weird sound effects is, I give them props.
But no, this is definitely a more tried and true structure on this song.
Yeah, it's a good one. I understand why it's a single. Jump to track number 9 if you're ready.
Yes, track number 9, Shangri-La.
Which I love the guitar lick at the start of this.
Oh yeah, it just goes right into it.
So it's such a laid back song.
Hits you right out of the gate.
Mm-hmm. And as you know, Cooper, Shangri-La is synonymous with earthly paradise, which I feel fits this song quite well.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a pretty solid ender for the album. Still has a little more of those forlorn vocals, mm-hmm. On the chorus or on the verse. Before we go into the more stacked on the chorus, but it's very sweet and good.
I would argue this is nearly a perfect song, minus the worst lyrical line in ELO history until From Out of Nowhere came out. In the chorus, every single time, the line is "faded like the Beatles on Hey Jude." Like, come on, you didn't have to put that in there.
No, I believe I believe the actual it's Beatles on Hey Jude. You have to it's all one word.
Yeah.
Beatles on Hey Jude.
And then at the 3-minute mark, after that part is sung in the chorus, very far in the background, Jeff Lynne just shouts, "Judy baby."
He's giving a shout out to his boys.
Like, oh, it's such a good song, but that one lyric just, it doesn't quite ruin it for me, but God, it comes close.
I think you're overreacting a little bit to it.
That's true. It's nowhere near as bad as Time of Our Lives. Went down to London town to play the music at the football ground. I can't believe this is going down, I said to my friend Phil. And yes, I have it memorized. I was not reading that off.
Oh, Phil.
Not quite that bad, but it is definitely one of the worst lyrical lines, I'd say. Not counting Who's That.
But still, this is a nice, beautiful, sweet 3-minute and 45-second song, I'd say.
Oh, well, hold on.
Wait a second.
Mark Cooper. First, don't forget, we get the first guitar solo of the album.
That's true.
Which is, it's like a slide strumming. Oh, it's so relaxing. It's such a good song. And then the song ends.
And yet?
But wait, what's this?
There's still 2 minutes to go?
Yeah. Cooper's favorite thing in songs, when the song comes back from the grave.
I do like it when they do it on like the last song of the album, because that feels like it's like the proper send out, right?
Yeah. And that wasn't sarcasm. You had said previously that you really enjoy when songs do that.
No, I do, especially when it's done tastefully like this, where it's like kind of a send off, right? And I also like the kind of change in styling, where it's almost like it's like the same general melody, but it's like ghostly.
Yeah,
like the vocals are distant and spacey, and the strings really come to dominate the song.
Yeah, it's kind of a really nice short showcase about what this album's about. Heavy on the orchestra, some ghostly vocals, brings the opera back. It's got a little bit of rock in there, more heavily featured synthesizer as opposed to guitar and the drums. They're just kind of there, but it's just,
it even brings back the opera a little bit.
Yeah, it's a very good like little end cap to an album, and this is the one of the few acceptable times when you can fade out a song.
And that is the album.
Yeah. And this whole time, I wrote some more history down here at the bottom. I'm sorry.
Wow. Just going to be stopped.
This whole time, I've been referring to the orchestral lines as the orchestra, which is funny because that's the current band formed by former members of ELO. It was initially called ELO Part 2 until 1999, when Bevan sold his remaining 50% stake of the ELO name to Jeff Lynne, and then Electric Light, or ELO Part 2 changed their name to the Orchestra. And that started in 1988 when Bevan wanted to make another ELO album, but Jeff Lynne didn't, leading to ELO officially to disband and ELO Part 2 forming, but that's a story for another day.
Jeff Lynne finally was able to become ELO.
Mm-hmm. But it wasn't Jeff Lynne's ELO in 2001. That was still just ELO.
No, true.
Because it was the original band getting back together. They wanted to do another album. And then in 2015, I guess they didn't. So Jeff Lynne's like, I'm the band now. Because it was just him. There was nothing. It was just him. He played every instrument. He sang every lyric. He got his daughter in to do some lyrics, but it was all just him.
Truly was Jeff Lynne.
Yeah. But that's the album. I can't remember who did the ratings last time, Cooper. I'll be on. Oh, we got to do favorite and least favorite first. I'm getting ahead of myself. So what's your least favorite song on this album, Cooper?
Rock Area, I think, was pretty obviously my least favorite. I mean, I've never made it much of a secret of my distaste for 50s rockabilly stylings.
This isn't rockabilly, though. It's just
stylings. It borrows heavily. But even that entire era, it's a little too, I don't know, on the nose maybe. And I don't think pairing opera with it, elevated it much. Could have gone a lot worse, I'll say that. But it certainly didn't make it my favorite song of the album. What about you, Sam? What's your least favorite?
Disagree with UK top 10 Rock Aria, Cooper? It made it to top 10 for the year in the UK. You're going to disagree with the general UK public?
Yes.
Of 1976?
What do they know that I don't?
Probably a lot.
Well, I've got a Spotify account. They didn't, so I can listen to it however many times I want.
They didn't have that. My least favorite. Ooh.
You gotta choose one?
I know. I'll probably say Above the Clouds. If I were to skip any on this album, it'd be that. It's a good song. Obviously, if I'm gonna... Usually I don't skip it. But if I had to, it'd probably be that. Because the things that I like that it does, I feel are done better in Shangri-La. So I could live. But again, it's not that bad, you know?
Fair.
What about your
so like you said, your rating for the album's not that bad. So you know,
no, that's not what
I said. Favorite track, Telephone Line. I mean, I'll say Living Things probably close second. And I really did like Above the Clouds, even though I know you didn't.
I mean, I like it just not as much as you do.
I know you hate that song, so I know we're at odds there. But Telephone Line is just such a solid track that I can't not make it my favorite. And I suspect will be similar here.
Yes, yeah, I really love Telephone Line. Tightrope is an extremely close second. I really love Tightrope as well. And actually, Shangri-La. I really enjoy that one. It's just a different style than other ELO tracks, because you got early ELO, which is very sounds like it was recorded in the 30s, and then you've got this kind of mid-range ELO where they're kind of coming into their own, and then you've got when they're hitting it out of the blue, Time, and then you've got late ELO and Jeff Lynne's ELO, or Zoom and From Out of Nowhere and Alone in the Universe kind of get lumped together. And this is just kind of a different sound. I feel like it's a very good encapsulation of ELO near their peak in one song, minus the Beatles on Hey Jude. I hate that.
Man, that's really eating you up inside.
It really does. I mean, we might as well just listen to their what was it? I can't remember what the song's called at this point. The unreleased song making fun of the Beatles.
I can't recall.
Oh, Beatles Forever. That's what it was called. Beatles Forever.
Right.
Unreleased. Because he was embarrassed. Because he later became friends with several Beatles members.
He does like the Beatles.
Yeah. But he released a diss track, basically. I should stop that because I just realized that it'll play it on the desktop. So that's what that sound was. You're not having a stroke, viewers. I'm sorry. I just started listening to Beatles Forever before I remembered that I was streaming my desktop.
You're on stream.
Yeah. But yeah, that's the one. You should also go listen to Who's That by ELO. That's a good song too. Anyway, those are our picks. Do you remember who did the rating last time, Cooper? I think it might have been you. I'm not sure.
I think it makes sense for you to do it here.
So here at Audio Shop, obviously, when we made our podcast, we decided to make it ELO themed. That's what brought us together, right? Our very first podcast was listening to one of the early ELO albums, and now I think this is the 17th time we've listened to a New World Record. And because we made it ELO themed, one thing, little known fact, Jeff Lynne owns a lot of cars. So we decided to make a music ELO themed car podcast, if that makes sense.
Yes.
It's kind of a lot of steps. It really doesn't come across when we talk. There might have been a little bit of confusion there. I know several times in the past, Cooper's thought we're a music-themed car podcast, and started talking about his latest acquisitions. But at the top, we've got show.
I thought we were something about frogs now.
Oh, yeah, that's true. We're not very clear with our marketing, I'll be honest. So at the top, we've got Showroom. That's 5 out of 5, cream of the crop, best of the best. Go listen to this album. You won't regret it. And then at the very bottom, we got 1 out of 5, Scrapyard. Ooh, yuck, get away from me. It makes you physically sick. It probably takes a couple of years off your life. And then everything in between. And with how we don't give a lot of Scrapyards, I'll be honest, with how bad some of them have been. We reserve that for the worst of the worst.
Well, it's got to be something special when you give a Scrapyard.
Exactly.
You don't just hand those out.
We're a little more liberal with the Showroom as opposed to the Scrapyard. But to be fair, we haven't listened to a lot of bad music. So there's that as well. So Cooper, what do you think? What is your rating for this album?
I mean, it's a great album. What can I say? Some would argue peak ELO. And there's arguments to be made there. I won't get into that debate. But I still think it's a solid Showroom. I mean, not a big fan of Arcaria. But I can see its appeal. Apparently, the British public in 1976 did. But I mean, otherwise, it's just banger after banger. This is all killer, no filler right here. So I don't know what to say. It's ELO firing on all cylinders and just picking a great rock orchestra album. And not something you've seen much nowadays, anyways.
Yeah. And I would have to agree with you on that. I place this firmly in Showroom. Granted, I am a little biased, but Cooper's backing me up here, so you can't say anything.
I've just been Pavloved into it by you.
I beat it into you. Actually, you didn't know, but when we were in college and when you lived with us and when I lived across the hall from you, I would sneak into your room at night and plug earbuds into you and make you listen to ELO.
Oh, wow. Every single night?
Yeah, even before we started the podcast.
Wow, you're like, this is going to go somewhere, I know it.
Yeah, well, the podcast gave me an excuse for doing that, so it kind of retroactively made it less weird. But yeah, that's why you're coming around to him. Your subliminal is starting to activate. I said the trigger.
Is this why I cry every time I hear a whale song?
Yes. I've got a meme to send you after this now because I've been saving it for one of these moments. But anyway, that's the album. Go listen to it. It's 36 minutes. Just throw it on. And I will say it's an older album, so the album experience is, I would say, the better experience to listen to this in. But if you're tight on time, just throw them up every once in a while. But 36 minutes, you don't even have to sit down and listen to it. Throw it on while you're doing dishes or something. It's a good time.
Yeah, especially after the last week's Journey album. I can respect an album that, trims the fat, so to speak.
Yeah, that doesn't just tread water. Oh, speaking of treading water, we're going to roll on over to Spare Tire, which is just whatever else we've listened to this past week. I was going to recommend we should listen to the new Panic at the Disco album coming out soon, but I don't really want to do any new albums until I'm sure there's a good one. The last Panic album was bad, so I don't really want to do another new one.
You got burnt before.
I mean, what we've not had good track record with new albums, right?
Always.
Aside from Lil Nas X, they've not been great because there's Santana, Journey, Panic at the Disco.
I mean, you could argue those are bands that are past their prime, so to speak. So the new albums aren't going to be as good as their old stuff.
I mean, that's fair. But what have you been listening to, Coop, this past week?
This past week, I've been listening to some Bob Marley, which I've quite enjoyed. I've been listening to kind of some what's the term? The genre name's escaping me. I don't know why it's
shoegaze.
No, not shoegaze.
House.
No, not house. I've been listening to a lot of Antonio Carlos Jobim, which I guess Brazilian music.
Okay.
Is the term
world music? You should.
I'm not gonna bossa nova. I guess is the. I'm not gonna call it world music just because it's not from America. What is it? ELO world music?
West.
Okay. Now I guess bossa nova inspired music. So some Antonio Carlos Jobim, some Rosina da Valença, just some quality South American music, I would say. I've been trying to get a little bit more into that. Because, especially modern times, you don't listen to as much South American music, at least here in the States.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to branch out, and it's quite good. I mean, quite relaxing for a good drive.
I've just been listening to this album. I'll be honest.
You're really committed to the job.
Yeah. I also just sent you some good memes, Cooper, on your phone that I've been saving.
Good.
ELO album. If you are an ELO fan and you are active on the internet, you should check out r/ELO Circle Jerk. There's some pretty good stuff there. If you like self-deprecating humor. But yeah, I've been wanting to listen to Leonard Nimoy's album. I've got it downloaded, I think. Let me see. Or do I just have it saved? Yeah, I don't. I'll download it now. But it's called The Two Sides of Leonard Nimoy. And the cover is him as Spock from Star Trek Original Series, and then him just as himself. And it's got the Ballad of Bilbo Baggins on it, so I gotta listen to that album. But I just haven't gotten around to it yet. And this past week has been very stressful, so I've not been listening to a lot of music. I've just kind of
besides ELO, of course.
Yeah. But I ended up having to get a new car, and made the discovery that the car I ended up picking has the worst stereo system I have ever heard in my life. So every morning when I drive to work now, I am going to be listening to ELO just as I always do, but crying because there's no bass. And somehow my voice is the lowest in the chorus, which should not be the case on most of those.
You will become the bass.
Yeah. That is Time After Time, which I've been listening to a lot recently, because there's a very, very good harmony sections in it. And I enjoyed being the low middle harmony. And it's a 2-minute song, very fun. It's at the end of Secret Messages. It's basically about the Cold War. But it's a fun song, and it's got great harmonies, and I listened to it on the way home from getting the car, and my voice was so much lower than the rest when I should have been the mid. So I'm actually looking into maybe getting like a subwoofer or something, because I can't live like this. I need to have, like, I know it sounds like I'm just whinging about lack of bass, but I turned the bass boosting, you know, how you can adjust that. I turned it up to 10, still nothing. So
you need your music, man.
Yeah. So now it used to be the case where these headphones I'm wearing now were my best for music listening, and then it was my car, and then it was my earbuds, and now it's these headphones I'm wearing now, my shitty earbuds that came with my phone, and then the car. So that's kind of depressing.
I think you need new earbuds.
Well, I think I got some. I just haven't seen Matt yet. So anyway,
well, you'll just have to find a good time to come up to see Matt, I guess.
Yeah, maybe. Enough of my sob story about not having a new bass in my car. We're gonna wrap up here. Are you available next week, Coop? Oh, probably not, right? Because you're moving.
It will remain to be seen, because that's the weekend right before my move. So,
well, do you want to assume no right now, just in case to give you some time, or do you want to assume yes?
Let's lean on no for now.
Lean on no. Okay. Well, if you think you might have time, we'll pick an album. But otherwise, it might be a hot second, just because you got to move.
I got a move coming up.
We don't want. There's no point in adding any more stress or time constraints to that. So, I'd say not next weekend, not the weekend after that, but the weekend after that possibly would be a good prediction for when we'll be back next. Just to give Cooper time, because he's moving across half the freaking country. So
on that grind.
Yeah, starting he's getting his first job.
Finally. Now that the podcast money's finally drying up.
Yeah, somehow we've tapped dry the podcast money. We've already spent all $300 million of that. Unfortunately, it was on Bitcoin, so that kind of went south. But if you want to hear some more of this and you're listening on Twitch, you can scroll down on our Twitch page. There's a picture of Jeff Lynne. He's the guy with the likely fake afro and aviators on. He'll take you over to our YouTube, where all the past episodes are, minus the one Supertramp that got lost to time. And if you're listening on YouTube and you want to listen to us live, you can go down to the description. It'll link you to our Twitch. As I said, usually 8 p.m. Easterns every Sunday, but it's going to be a couple of weeks while Cooper moves. And you can also find us on Twitter, I believe.
Yes, if you follow us at Audio Shop Pod, that's POD, on Twitter. We'll keep you updated on what we're reviewing and when we're reviewing it, so give us a follow there.
And Cooper's been spending quite a bit of time on Twitter recently, trying to get down with the kids, so to say.
I'm trying to increase my appeal to the Zoomers.
Yeah.
With my hip lingo.
Using words that my Zoomer sister has never said in her life. Granted, I don't think she spends much time on Twitter. So I think it's just Twitter Zoomers you're appealing to there, Cooper.
Let's get that bread, gamers.
No, that was millennials, Cooper. You're way out of time here.
Oh, God, I'm not even...
You're current with us, but you're not current with the kids.
That's sus.
No, even still, that's like what?
Is that too old?
A year ago? Oh, time moves fast, Cooper. You got to stay on it. You got to be with it.
A bougie?
Cooper, that was like when we were in high school. What are you doing?
Oh, God. Catch these hands.
Next you're going to say that people are salty.
I'm failing the vibe check.
Okay, you're getting closer.
Ooh, okay.
you've recovered some street cred.
I'm becoming an e-boy, right? Is that still a thing?
I think that still scans, yeah.
Okay, all right.
Anyway, thank you guys so much for listening, and we will see you next time.
See you later, shoppies.
See ya. I can't find my mouse.